Hi, everybody. It's Cassandra and Paula. We're all in for 2025. We're in May. Can you believe it, Paula?
I cannot. I cannot.
And the flowers are blooming everywhere. The trees, leaves are all coming in. The grass is getting greener by the day. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about new beginnings or beginnings and endings. Sort of the winter is ending, the cold is ending. Coming into this really beautiful season of spring. I always feel more motivated in spring to sort of get going with some new things. And I don't know, how about you, Paula?
Yeah, absolutely. The one part I think I love about the spring of the beginning is the sunshine. The sun makes me happy. And so I love the ending of winter and the beginning of spring and getting out and walking. People smile more, people talk more. There is an energy shift. And so I love this time of year just from maybe it's anticipation of summer. I don't know. But what I do know is the beginning of just again, the smiles. I know I feel better. I have walked more in the last week than I have probably all winter. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So yeah, I love it. I love it.
So I just wrapped up 11 years of being the founder and artistic director of the Woodstock Community Choir, which is in Woodstock, Illinois. And it is the official city choir. Um, and I retired from the position and handed it over on Sunday. Still have some logistical admin stuff to wrap up here over the next month, but it was sometimes we build things, sometimes we do things in our lives, and we're so proud of them. And they were a spark at a time in our life. And we follow it through, kind of like last time I was talking about following the cheese, right? We follow the calling to do the thing. And sometimes we get to a point with the thing where we go, I don't feel like this is where I'm supposed to be anymore. And it doesn't mean it isn't an amazing thing, but I don't feel like I'm supposed to be anymore. And so I made the difficult decision to move on, partly because I had a great succession plan. I had an amazing person that's going to take over. And I think that made it easier. But
Yeah.
we've been talking a lot about listening to our voices too. And like sometimes you have to listen to that voice and go, it's time for me to try something else, or it's time for me to build something new. And spring is always such a great time of year, I think, to get that sort of spark again. And that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling sort of this sense of it's an ending. I'm very proud of what I built and collaborated on to create that community. But I'm also in a place where I'm ready to step into something else, build something else. And it's been an emotional roller coaster this month, just sort of wrapping that up. But the people and the community that I built is amazing. And I know it will go on as a legacy. And it's okay sometimes to step forward into something else. And so it was knowing when the right time is, just feeling it, trusting your gut. That was what I've been spending this whole last few months doing as I've made this transition out of it. Uh, and it was the right choice. And I thought maybe it wouldn't be the right choice, but after it was all done, but it was the right choice. And I feel a sense of pride, but also lightness. And I'm excited to see where the next, what kind of shenanigans I'm going to get myself into next. How about you, Paula?
I can't wait either. Yeah, so I think so much of when we think about things that we do and um, how we feel about them, it matters, right? And so sometimes, and you said it, like it doesn't mean that thing is wrong. It doesn't mean sometimes it's just the season. It's time for some things to just end, and it's okay. And I think the sooner that we understand that, the more beautiful things become. I just had a conversation the other day, and somebody asked, "What do you want, Paula? What do you want?" Such a simple question. And there's a lot of things that I want, but it's how do you get there, right? And there's some things that you have to stop doing. There's some things you got to start doing. So again, beginning and endings, right? And it's figuring what that is. And here's what I'll say. I think the most important piece of this is being true to who you are. And a lot of people may question the decisions, the choices that you make. And the reality is I know for each of us what we want, what we need. And it doesn't matter what somebody else, what somebody else thinks. It really is about what you've got to choose to make you happy. And I've said this before, my three words are joy, peace, and happiness. And I continue every day to remind myself of that. So whether it is beginning, trying to do my coaching program that didn't quite go off the way I wanted it to, it's okay. It's not even necessarily an ending, it's the beginning of the process of trying to build that. Understanding that some things you got to let go of, whether it's a people, organizations, process, whatever it is. But it's figuring out what that is and what you need and what you want. And so I just take a lot of joy in this moment for you, of knowing where you are and the new beginning. So while something ended, it's the new beginning that's going to happen. And for myself, the same thing of really trying in this month. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna finish my book. It is time to begin that next chapter. I've had this book for 2 years in my Google Drive, and I keep talking about it. And now I'm like, it's gonna get done this month. And so there's something to be said for, again, in the space that we're in. When you begin new things, you have to end some things, but you can begin. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
I think there's also something to be said about having the mental space to do those things, because as a
Yeah.
creative, I'm a creative, very creative person. Built a lot of communities in my career, written a lot of songs, performed a lot of places. And the choir in particular was something that was a happy accident. It was something that I had no idea was going to blow up into the organization that it is. I had no idea. I did not know what was happening. I was just feeling called to do it.
Yeah.
And but since I've sort of like even since I made the decision that I was gonna move on, the space that it has created in my mind, in my sort of
Yeah.
creativity, I didn't expect. I didn't expect it to feel like now there's room in there again. And that's exciting to me because I haven't felt that in a while.
Yeah.
And the choir is creative and the people and all that. And I mean, it's been just like an absolute dream of a chapter. But I also know that, as you said, chapters come to an end. Sort of as a good nod to your book that you're going to finish.
Thank you.
And I have a book in me too. And I mean, most people don't know I have a screenplay that also almost got produced that I would love to go back and look at it, maybe turn it into a book, maybe turn it into a stage show. Get into really doing more with women's empowerment and leadership in that space and confidence. And this creates some space now for me to actually dream again
Yeah.
about what those next things might look like. So I think creating that space, sometimes we're creative people and we're like, well, why can't I sit down and write? Or why can't I sit down and do this? Or why can't I seem to get going? Sometimes we
Yeah.
just have too many things rolling
Yep.
around in there
Yep.
and we have to lighten the load.
Yep.
And I
Exactly.
think that's that. And again, back to spring, but for me, spring always feels that way. It always feels like it feels lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Agree. Agree.
She's agreeing.
I love it. I love it. And so here's what I'll just say. I encourage everybody, especially this week, is figure out maybe something things you need to end. You need to stop. I think sometimes it's in the back of our head, and we know that we need to, but we just keep going. So take a pause, figure out what that may be, and maybe there's something that you've been wanting to begin to do. Here's a new season you all started, whatever that is. I think there's such power in being intentional, and so in this new month and this new season, take a moment and just think about what you may need to end and what you may need to begin. And you might find yourself doing some things that are really awesome all because you just took a moment to just be intentional about beginning something or ending something. So go out there and do it.
That's all we have to say today.
I
That
love
was a
it.
good ending. And here's to new beginnings. We're going to end
Here's
this session, and then we're going to begin our day. So enjoy your day, and thank you, and all in for 2025. Here we
Let's
go.
go.
All right, bye.